Good evening. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Wednesday, the 2nd of April. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right. Okay, well, I was watching the announcement of the tariffs, and he really did it. And he seems very determined to go on with it. So we will see how it goes from here. In the short term, I was watching the futures at the time, and basically there was a 5% drop from high to low as we came down from what was it? Hang on a second. Right, it actually spiked up at the beginning and went up to 5774, and then it went down to 5479. So pretty much slightly over 5%, which is a big drop to see in a very short time. We're seeing a rally from there. That's gone up about 70 points so far, but I'm expecting really to start heading down to these targets. We've made the target for the double top finally on ES, but of course we haven't made these on the RTH charts yet. No current divergence. NQ, we'd already made the target there, and I haven't got it marked on this chart in any case, but potentially formed a smaller double bottom here. I suspect that's not what's happened. I'm expecting some more downside coming pretty soon. We will see though. On RTY, we went lower again. YM hasn't made it back to, well, it's made it back to this prior low, but it hasn't made it back to the bear flag target at the retest of this low in the 41,000 area. And I'm thinking we likely do that next. I'll go through those on the RTH charts. In terms of DAX, we've got a double top here. This looks like a bear flag forming. After that, I'm thinking we probably head down towards that target. And ESTX, no obvious pattern set up here. This could, of course, be a bull flag. I suspect, however, it isn't. So we will see. All right, great. Let's have a look at the RTH charts. And right, looking at SPX, I've got a decent looking bear flag here, and I think fairly obviously it's going to break down tomorrow morning. We should see a retest of this low in RTH, and I'm leaning towards seeing it go lower. Where have we got targets here? Well, they are in the 53.90 to 54.40 area, so not a huge amount further down. We're getting into that. We're getting into that area with a decline of another, 50 handles really. And if we were to duplicate a retest the lows that we made today on ES, that would get us certainly into the first area of the targets. We closed very slightly over the daily upper band today, but I would count that as a close on the band. We closed 11 points above though, so arguably a break above, but that's unlikely to hold into tomorrow. And I think we're likely to reject back down tomorrow, so we shall see. Looking at the Qs, we saw a close which was marginally under the daily middle band, but basically we were testing daily middle band across the board. I would note that we have got some weak RSI 14 buy signals brewing here. They're not particularly well formed and they are very weak, but it's something I'm just noting to keep an eye on. On the hourly chart, no current divergence, and here again we've got a pretty decent looking bear flag, and I'm leaning towards that breaking down tomorrow morning. Could there be a reaction that I'm not expecting? Always. And we do have a nice looking double bottom set up here, but I think it would be unusual to say the least if we saw those play out here. Looking at the Qs, we've already made the initial double top targets, so they are off the table now. Looking at Dia, we closed back above the 3 handles above the daily middle band. Again, likely that won't hold into tomorrow, and I'm thinking, well, the question is whether these trend lines hold that I drew in. We've got a target down in the 384 area, but these trend lines are in about the 403 and 397 areas. So when we get there, I'll be watching for potential support. On the 15-minute chart, again, we had a decent looking bear flag. So not the highest quality, but I think the obvious next move is to break down from here and to head down to the retest of this low, which is in the 406.47 area. All right, let's have a look at IWM. And on IWM, less nice as a flag, and less obvious as a flag, but still looks like a bear flag here. We already retested this low. We've got a potential level bottom, of course, but I'm leaning towards this going lower. In terms of how much lower, we have an open target there too, and you can see that on the daily chart where I've got that at 182.5. Again, we've got a pretty decent looking support trend line, which is currently in the 192.5 area, which I'll be watching on the way. All right, so let's have a look at DAX. Obviously, we don't have the aftermarket for DAX or Nikkei. We've got this double top, which is breaking down here on DAX, which I'm thinking has a good chance of making target. DAX and Europeans have been the strongest of the markets, really. Nikkei is well below the daily lower band, obviously. There's a couple of interesting things on the Japanese. Obviously, they're going to be fairly heavily affected in the tariffs, fairly high tariffs, I can't remember, 30% or something, were announced for the Japanese. The other thing is, and there were high tariffs announced also for South Korea. The other thing is that both Japan and South Korea seem to have teamed up with China for their joint reaction to tariffs, and that will be interesting. And also, it's another example of US alliances splintering. But of course, the easiest people to put pressure on are your trading partners, who tend to be your allies. Not always. I mean, China isn't. But obviously, they don't do much. America doesn't do much business with Russia or North Korea. China, however, is a major trading nation, and their relations, and really Japan and South Korea historically have always been siding with the US on everything, because of course the US is their protector. This is an end to that. I think partially because not having been clear that it was ever be expected to be paid back, Trump has been basically demanding that the Ukraine pays back, the military help they've had, and of course that is massive. That is dwarfed by the amount that's been basically spent helping the South Koreans and the Japanese, and I think both of them are pretty concerned they're getting a very large bill. All right, let's have a look at the US dollar chart. Now, I've been leaning on the pre-market videos towards this failing, and this looks like it's failing. So I'm expecting to see this head down and retest the low. It was a nice looking double bottom. When it formed, it had a very nice looking potential. It had a very nice looking RSI 5 daily buy signal, but that made target a while ago without this making target. So I think we're heading down to the lows. ZB, I'm really pleased with this because I drew in this trend line before it was hit. And said this was likely a flag, and here we are. We've actually made it to the flag target here. Will it stop? Well, I'll talk more about that on TNX. So let's go to the bigger picture charts on both of those. Looking at the US dollar. I've got this as a likely flag. I've got a very obvious, I've got this trend line here, which is in the 100.95 area. But if we look at the bigger picture, I've got this as a likely bull flag with support in about the 97 area, but that's coming down towards this main rising megaphone support, which I've got about the 96.5 area. I think all of this tariff stuff is likely to be negative for dollars, and it's likely to be very negative for dollars and potentially break my flag to the downside in the event that there's a lot of pressure on the US treasuries, because people are moving away from using the US dollar as a reserve currency. The reserve currency mainly is basically an informal agreement that people will use the US dollar as a reserve currency. But if the US dollar is withdrawing to a degree from the world trading system, then, there are plenty of other currencies to choose from, and I suspect other currencies will be chosen. So that's going to be, I was writing about the potential effect that would have on T-bills and interest rates, but the other effect it would have is it would put downward pressure on the dollar. I think at this stage, I'm leaning towards getting down to the 96, 97 area, and I'm wondering if it'll hold when we get there. Short term, no current divergence on the RSI 5. We've got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fixed, but as I said, the double bottom was likely to fail, and it's failing. Then that could take us straight down into the retest this low here at 100.157. Okay, looking at the bigger picture charts. I've got a potential IHS here which has formed and already broken up. I've got another option here as well. But basically, I'm wondering about a move up into the 8 or 9% area. And if we start seeing a lot of selling of US treasuries, then that could put an awful lot of upward pressure on TNX. We will see. Because TNX, of course, is the yield on the 10-year treasury. It's TYX is the yield on the on the 30-year Treasury, and obviously if people sell treasuries and bond prices go down, the yield goes up. We'll see how that develops, but that could be one of the big stories of the next year. TNX hasn't quite retested the low, so we don't have, and we'll get some positive divergence when that happens. And if ZB holds the overnight move, then it will happen. Is there an alternate scenario here? Yes, and I was looking at this, I think on the last couple of bigger pictures, and that is that we've got this potential head and shoulders here. Now, I'm leaning against this making the full target, but it could do, and actually I've got a scenario for that. If this bull flag is turning into a larger bull flag, and which sometimes happens with this as the trend line, then we could go A, B, C, and maybe get down into the 33, 34 area. That would mean that this head and shoulders would make target and then continue lower. That could happen, and I would say it's a nice looking head and shoulders. I'm certainly not throwing it out as a possibility. It's something to bear in mind. But we've made I was seeing this as a bear flag. We've pretty much made target. We're likely to go lower here. But if we see a hard breakdown below 41, then we could well be looking next at a retest of this low here at 36.03. All right, let's have a look at CL. Now, CL, this responded badly to the tariff announcements tonight. I'm entirely sure why that was, actually. But for whatever reason, it has responded badly. Now, we've got an IHS which is broken up with a target in the 75.5 area, and that has not been invalidated. But if we see a break below the right shoulder low, and I've got that right shoulder low at 68.82, then that would actually fix a target back at a retest this low. And at some stage, as I've mentioned on a very regular basis, I think we are owed a retest of the main low at 63.57. All right, NG, this wasn't really much affected. We've got a bull flag that's breaking up here. We're seeing bottoming out. This could be an IHS. We could retest this low, give us a double bottom. But I think unless we are forming a larger flag, which is always possible, but less so here because this is already a fairly high proportion of the move up from here. But I think if we bottom out here, then I think we're going to make a retest of this high here in about the 4.95 area. All right, let's have a look at those on the big picture charts. Okay. Right, looking at oil. Oil on the bigger picture, this is the reason I'm leaning towards, well, it just says 64.36 here. That actually is a low at 63.57, which you can see there. Okay, right. So I'm thinking we're going to retest that, and we've got a pretty good chance of making the second low double bottom and then potentially heading up from there. If we're going to start seeing recessions happening across the world, then of course that could depress demand, and it could be that we're going to break that support. But until then, I'm seeing this as likely bottoming action, and we'll see how that develops. In the short term, I've got this falling wedge here, and as long as we stay under the resistance here, which I've got in the 76.5 to 77 area, then the next obvious target would be this trend line, which would be a match with the retest of this low here at 63.57. So I'm watching out for that. Looking at CL, no current divergence. Looking at natural gas. Natural gas, obviously, we've got this double bottom, which is broken up with a target, alternate targets in the 575 and 550 areas. I'm liking that target. So obviously weakening demand across the world could affect that. These patterns can always break down, in which case they tend to head back towards the lows. That could happen here, but I'm leaning against it. We will see how it develops. Do we have a potential level top here? Yeah, we do. And if we saw a sustained break below 3.8, we could be looking at a move down to the 3 to 3.2 area. But I haven't got any divergence here worth the mention, and I'm leaning towards the upside target until we see some evidence to the contrary. All right, not really much to say on this chart here. If we do see a breakdown, I'd be watching this possible support in the 3.45 area. But if we get down there, my lean is it would probably break. Okay, GC has continued going higher. We are consolidating a bit. Now, there has been a flight to safety element to what we're seeing here, and it may well be that we're going to see more of that. And obviously, given that we might be starting to see some real selling of US bonds and interest rates might go up a lot, gold actually is looking relatively pretty attractive as a safety destination. We'll see how that goes, but at the moment I'm not seeing anything compelling saying this is about to reverse. SI, Retested this high. We've got a potential double top here, and we have been retracing a bit. I've got a couple of trend lines here I'll show you on the bigger picture. I'd love to see it move to 38. I think that might be next, but I have got an option where potentially it fails here. Okay, HG. As I was saying, economies are likely to be slowing, and that's pretty much always bad for copper. The reason it's called Dr. Copper is, of course, that it's very sensitive to economic activity, and economic activity is going to be struggling over the next few months. That being the case, I'm expecting copper to go down. We could see a retest of this high first. Possible head and shoulders breaking down here. I haven't drawn it in, but it's not an awful one. Reasonably good, actually. This has got a target down about the 4.65 area, and I'm thinking that may well get hit. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture chart on gold. Okay, we've still got a daily RSI 14 sell signal fixed. It hasn't failed quite yet. Now, the pattern I was looking at the other day, I was looking at a couple of trend lines here, and I was saying if we went through this trend line, I'd be watching this trend line. That potentially could hold. We've lost the negative divergence on the daily RSI 5. We've still got an open RSI 14 sell signal that's hanging on by a thread. Is this a nice reversal setup? No, it isn't. But it has got potential, and I am keeping an eye on it. We have got negative divergence still on the weekly chart. Okay, looking at silver. Silver, I've got two possible target trend lines here. I've got this one here, which is at about 35.5 area, but my concern was we might retest this high here, and this could be the second high of a double top. Not taking that particularly seriously, but I am wondering about it. Looking at the monthly chart, I'd have an alternate, which goes back further, of course, so you can see more. But I've got this alternate going back to a low in 2008, which would have a target in the 38 area. This would be my preferred target, and I'm thinking it might make it. We will see. All right, looking at the daily chart, RSI 5 sell signal reached the possible near miss target, so I'm pretty much disregarding that at this stage. As long as we hold the daily middle band, I'm leaning towards this going higher. We will see how that goes. All right, palladium, not a great deal happening here. Platinum has been trading in a range basically for a couple of years now. Both of those are obviously used significantly industrially. Trade wars probably not good for either, but we'll see how it goes. All right, looking at copper. This is a potential large double top. Now, it's sufficiently large that I'm having a little trouble taking it seriously, but nonetheless, this is a potential double top. This could be taking us down to the 2.8 area. That could deliver. In terms of this trend line here, we're pretty much... it's not a bad looking trend line, not really matched by a support trend line, but the main thing I'm looking at here is the fact is copper is likely to see a reduction in demand, and we've got a nice looking double top here. Could this make a target which was down in the 2.5 to 2.8 area? Yes, it could, in my view. And that wouldn't be unusual on this chart. And certainly, if you're starting to look at a significant slowdown in economic activity and international exports, then that really could happen. Okay, we'll see how that goes. RSI 5 sell signal hung on by a thread, still there. We've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed. Those could be about to play out. Okay, looking at GDX, we've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed. We've got a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing. We've got a worryingly nice looking resistance trend line here. I'm thinking this might be topping out short term. Whether that is topping out with the stock market or topping out with gold is more of a question. I think we're likely to see more downside on stock markets. We will see. But either way, this is a worryingly convincing looking reversal setup here on GDX. Looks nice. We will see. GDXJ, pretty decent resistance trend line there too. Again, daily sell signals brewing. I'm leaning towards, I think we may well see a retracement start on these now. We'll see. Would that just be because the stock market was going down though? Maybe. We will see. Remember, you're looking at a mixed bag there. They are stocks, and of course they go with gold, but they go with both to a certain extent. USD, we've almost made it back to the retest this high, where this was the mirror image of the double bottom on DX, of course. GBP USD, we had a head and shoulders. It failed. That had a target back up to retest the high, and it's gone back and made it. USD JPY, had a nice looking inverted head and shoulders forming here, but I did say that gravity from the US dollar dropping would likely pull this down, and at the moment it looks as though it's heading back to the lows. USD CAD, not really affected tonight. The Canadians and the Mexicans were actually left off the list for tonight. But I think that's partially, of course, because they've got large tariffs on them already, and obviously they are affected by the auto tariffs. Not really seeing a great deal on Australian dollar or NZ. We will see how it goes. Okay, KC. KC, I'm still leaning towards A, B, C, and thinking we may well see a move down to the 355 area. If we're doing that, we've been doing it very, very, very slowly. Sugar, seeing some action here. We've broken up from what looks like a flag, setting up a retest of this high, and we are more than halfway there. CC, just as I'd more or less given up on this double bottom ever playing out, it's broken up and played out. So we've made the first target, and that is good enough. No current negative divergence. This could definitely go higher. ZW, potential level. I was looking for a low retest. We saw it. Potential level bottom. Same again on corn. Potential level bottom. Trying to break up over this declining resistance trend line, but failing to capture it with any confidence at the moment. Soy, I was expecting to see a retest of the low, and we didn't do that. We've gone up instead. This could be all a bear flag forming though. We will see. If we start getting over the 1,040 to 50 area and holding that, then I think we could be looking at a retest this high. Till then, this is going to look an awful lot like a bear flag. CT, this could be a bear flag too. Would it be a nice bear flag? Not at the moment, I don't think. Actually, no, it wouldn't be bad. That's actually a pretty good bear flag. I think this is a bear flag. This would be a slight overthrow at the high here. This could be a level to reverse. See, that comes from there, goes through there, goes through there. Actually, this isn't bad. I didn't pick it up just looking at it by eye, but actually when you draw the line, it's really not bad at all. I'm thinking cotton may well be about to reverse here and may well come back and retest this low. When we do retest the low, I'm thinking if we see that, then that could well be the second low of a double bottom. Okay, so hang on, just setting this up and saving it. Okay, lumber. Lumber. Drifting down here, I'm torn on here because my other lumber chart has this tires already retested. On this chart, it looks as though it hasn't. I haven't really been messed around by my providers on lumber charts lately, though. So I haven't got the confidence in them that I used to. Live cattle, I was expecting this to retest the high, and it has. Potential level top here. We will see. No sign of reversal at the moment. Lean hogs still leaning towards seeing a retest of this low next after this long consolidation completes. All right, great. Let's have a look at those on the big picture charts. Okay, coffee. We're in a consolidation here. Sooner or later, I'm thinking this is going to break up into a retest of this high. That's what would generally happen after this kind of triangle flag was forming, and I think that's likely to happen. We will see. Not a great classical flag, not perfect trend lines here, but not a bad triangle. Okay, looking at sugar. Sugar, I'm still leaning towards seeing some more downside. We're not seeing a move towards that at the moment. We are over the daily middle band. But I would note that if we went back and retested this 20.070 area, then that could set up a nice looking double bottom to go back and retest this low here, which is at 17,520. We'll see on cocoa. We had an RSI 14 buy signal fixed and an RSI 5 buy signal fixed. The RSI 5 buy signal has made target. We haven't made the RSI 14 buy signals target yet, but I would say that we're approaching a very nice looking potential inverted head and shoulders in the 9100 area. We could see a right shoulder pullback, ideally to about the 8100 area, and then a move up, which could then get us much of the way back towards a retest this high. We don't need to retest that high, and I'm doubtful about that being the second high of a double top if we do retest that high, but it's not a bad looking emerging setup. And if we can get over this declining resistance here, then arguably this is a bull flag. We will see. All right, looking at wheat. Nice looking double bottom on the hourly chart. Less convinced on the daily. Looking at corn, again less convincing on the daily. On on soy, we've got a nice break up over this declining resistance. This could well be a bear flag forming. On cotton, no current divergence, but I am wondering about a reversal here. On lumber, you can see that it did retest that high on here. So I'm wondering if we've got a double top here and about to see a lot of reversal. Like copper, lumber is very sensitive to economic activity, and this is quite a decent looking, double top. If we were to see a sustained break below 600, this would have a target in about the 420 to 430 area. So we will see how that goes. All right, great. Oh, and we're testing the daily middle band. If that breaks, then this can convert into full reversal. We will see. And we have got a weak RSI 14 sell signal up fixed today. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. I will catch you guys again on Sunday, at which stage we will have seen what happens tomorrow, which will be extremely interesting in the in the follow through to these tariffs being announced. Bigger picture, I'm thinking we may well be going into a significant bear market. I think Trump has bet his presidency on these tariffs, and that bet may not go well. But I think we're likely to see significantly more downside. Whether that is immediate, I don't know. And it's the sort of move which would usually play out over a few months. So often people seem to think it's all going to get done by Tuesday. That's generally not going to be the case. We will be watching carefully. I'll see you guys again on Sunday. All right, cheers.